There's a history. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to welcome to LGBT Detroit Live. How's everybody doing out there? You have where okay.
Episode topper real quick. Go ahead.
Okay. You're talking with your boy, Joe Black here. And today we have the one, the only, the director of Heaven in Detroit, Chris Sutton.
Don't hold it too much. I need to get a start
Yes.
on how to
Yes.
do that. Yeah. But yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have a great show for you today. Okay, so we're going to be talking about Heaven in Detroit and getting into the nitty gritty, and y'all are going to be getting some tea, some tea that I haven't even been able to get up until now. So, before we jump into that, though, let me start off by asking. Speaking of tea, I am sipping on some Assam tea by the Boston Tea Room, which is in Ferndale, right there on 9 Mile, y'all. So local, I'm shopping local for my tea that we're gonna be sipping and spilling today. But how about you, Mr. Director Man? What you sipping on right now?
It's called H2O.
Oh.
It's the best tea you could get. Purist, legendary, way of staying hydrated. But yeah, just a bottle of water and myself. So yes.
Okay, we love that. We love that. Okay, so Heaven in Detroit. Actually, okay. Let me start by saying we're going to start this as like a real interview. So, sir, tell us a little bit about yourself, your history. You're a local filmmaker. Can you tell us a little bit about your history for those of us who have not had the pleasure of being able to experience you in person?
I already felt loaded by itself. But yeah.
See, look, this is the one thing about working at a LGBTQ organization. You can say stuff like that without having to say pause. Like,
yes, we don't have to be like we're on a Joe Budden podcast.
yes.
So that is a blessing. But yes, everyone. So yeah, I am Chris Impact Sutton. And I'm a filmmaker, I'm a storyteller. I kind of got my footing in filmmaking, really just, with the drive of honoring our stories, honoring my love for Detroit, honoring our local LGBT community, but also just kind of knowing the importance of having visibility for us to see ourselves and having the resources and tools to tell our own stories. Uh, so, Detroit born and raised, Northwest Side, even to be more clear, 7 Mile Myers, McDonald, Bogan Middle School, Mumford High School.
Oh,
Uh,
see, you had me until you said Mumford. Mm.
don't do too much. So, um, but always, from my earliest memories, I love the power of storytelling. So as soon as I got like a Crayola crayon in my hand and a piece of paper, I was trying to figure out ways to kind of create my own world because just being a young kid growing up in Detroit, love my city. I was blessed to have two incredible parents in my life. But
Amen to
also,
amen to the family, the black family. Amen.
but also kind of felt like an outsider. I knew I was kind of different at a young age, and I didn't know how to express this part of myself. And I felt like the earliest tool that I used as a communicator in sharing the world who I was through storytelling, with creating worlds. And that was kind of like from the power of filmmaking. I'm just kind of diving in a little bit deeper. Um, I think my first real, well, I'm gonna say maybe my first real camera, but when I started to get into like utilizing the tools of like filming and being able to kind of edit and cultivate stories, uh, it was with the Game Boy camera. And I don't know how many people are familiar.
Oh, wow. The Game Boy camera.
The
Okay.
Game Boy camera was this like attachment that you could plug on
Hmm.
an old school brick Game Boy, right?
I
And that
remember.
brick
I
Game
had
was
one.
and it had like this very basic, grainy, ratchet like editing suite where you could kind of like do these stop motion like short films. And I'm not going to go into too much detail in terms of how I got that Game Boy camera. When I got that Game Boy camera,
Oh.
well, when I got it though, when I tell you, it was kind of like this daily tool. It was my obsession. Like anywhere I would go, I was like, I have to do a Game Boy camera like film, right?
Hmm.
There were like these little 10-second little videos, but it showed me kind of like the basic tools of like how to use like these different pieces to kind of like tell stories. Um, and from there, I was part of the AV club. So I was always a tall kid. They were always filming me on the basketball team or the football and soccer or whatever. But I was like, where can I connect with the artsy fartsy people? So I was part of AV club. I found ways to kind of connect with kind of like my creative community locally any way possible while I was in grade school, even though those resources were limited. Um, Once I got out of high school, went to the College of Creative Studies, studied video editing there,
Oh,
and
wait.
that
You went to CCS?
for a hot minute.
Okay. I'm about to say, oh, he got
No,
money. He got money.
hot minute. But but when I attended, I was really able to kind of connect with the creative community there. And that's when I started to kind of like really learn the ins and outs of like filmmaking professionally. And then for some people who are familiar, for a short time, the state of Michigan got a film incentive program. This is like early 2000,
Oh, you
and
are
I was
bringing back
able to
memories.
get tied into that. And I was able to intern on a bunch of local films, or a bunch of films that were being shot here by big studios. And that's when I really got my
You want to name drop a film or two that you worked on as a CSS?
so Harold and Kumar,
Ooh.
4, a couple of other projects. I will say in short though, it was truly a whirlwind because it's like during that whole time, like all the big studios were trying to get this film incentive, tax break. And it was just so many big budget films being made here. Here I'm coming in like, oh, this is what it's really like. This is what it's really about.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but all that being said, where it really kicked off for me is that once I, kind of got my feet wet and my hands on kind of like the process of filmmaking, I wanted to kind of venture out and try to use those skill sets with the people and communities I really cared about. So I started to go to different like local Detroit collectives, LGBT organizations, and just see like, hey, like I'm a filmmaker, I'm a storyteller. I want to be able to kind of advance my skills, but I want to do it in an intentional way, and I wanted to do it rooted in community. And I went to a bunch of different spaces. Won't name them.
Oh.
Um, think really understood like the importance of storytelling at the time.
Mhm.
But then I stepped into an office on 41 Burroughs called Kick, and I had my
Yeah.
little demo reel,
Okay.
and I showed a person named Zaire Kwebna at the time. We'll say Zaire Kwebna, that's his name.
Hmm.
What was so impactful about that for me at that moment was I think it was one of the few times I really saw someone see beyond, me being this tall, 7 footish, young dude from Detroit, and really saw my passion for storytelling. Uh,
Mm.
and from there, uh, pretty much quite swiftly, I became one of the main. I wasn't the only one, but one of the main storytellers of the organization. I was able to film and highlight so many things that was going on within Kick, but also it allowed me to branch out with other LGBT collectives here locally and do very intentional film work around the authenticity of our community and being able to highlight all these stories that are often not, I think, shown and recognized. Um, so yeah, that's where like I think things really kind of launched into where I am now, and kind of tying it back into this film. Um, when I was able to do all this film work with these orgs, I was amongst people who have been doing this work in the community for decades, and they would share about like these spaces that were prolific. And one of those
Mm.
Club Heaven. And for folks who may not be familiar, Club Heaven was a after hours predominantly black LGBT space that existed on 7 Mile and Woodward. And it helped cultivate a lot of what we have, not just within kind of like the Black LGBT community, but also I think when it comes to like the foundation of Detroit techno music. Um, it was the starting, well, not just starting point, but the pillar of launching Ken Collier, who is known as like the father of Detroit techno here. Um, it also launched and gave space for so many other prolific DJs like Stacey Hotworks Hill, DJ Tony Peoples, so
Mm-hmm.
many others. But also, it was a sanctuary for a lot of us. You know, we talk about often how, even though, we have grown a lot as a community in accepting LGBT people, there's still a lot of barriers and a lot of boundaries. And for a lot of us, for some of us who don't have a supportive family, for some of us
Mm-hmm.
who don't have our tribe, uh,
Mm-hmm.
we find community sometimes in the clubs. We find community in celebrating dance. And I look at spaces like Club Heaven as being our spaces of worship. Um, and
Interesting.
yeah,
Interesting.
and we can
Okay.
talk about that a little bit more. But
Well,
but I would just say in short, that was kind of the inspiration behind the film. And luckily, the people who helped bring me into my own chosen family and community were connected to Club Heaven. So I partnered with Detroit Song Conservancy. I partnered
hmm.
with my closest
Now,
friends and others.
now,
Go ahead. Yeah.
I did want to inquire as to, since you shouted them out, what is the Detroit Sound Conservancy?
Yes. So Detroit Song Conservancy is a collective. centered around uplifting kind of like the history and legacy of the history around Detroit music and Detroit sound. They have, for I want to say, they launched in 2017, 2018 with their Club Heaven restoration project where they were restoring the Club Heaven speakers. But
Mm-hmm.
they've been doing work around building the legacy and continuing the legacy of Club Heaven for quite some time. And they have been very intentional in making sure that they partner with the right people in kind of honoring these spaces and like really just the Detroit music scene. So, in short, their work is centered around just uplifting the Detroit sound.
Okay.
Yeah.
I also wanted to just add a note of context for all of the younger folks in our audience who might be watching. Your comment about the Game Boy camera. Ladies and gentlemen, you have to remember this piece of technology came out in a time before smartphones. The cell phones were still dumb, y'all. The cell phones were still dumb. They had tiny little cameras, but they were not anything that you could like do what we do now with our smartphones. So when that Game Boy camera came out, you could use it like we use our smartphone cameras. And it seems like that piece of technology sparked this interest that has led into a full-blown career that can uplift the stories of people like us. So, okay.
Oh, boy, shout out to Nintendo, I guess. No,
I,
I,
I just I just had to give the context because there's kids who haven't heard of a Game Boy. They have only heard of a Nintendo DS. You know,
we about
so
this whole episode. It's like
so
OG gaming history, but yeah. Yeah, I was going to share. So here's the thing, too. I'll say this: like,
okay.
for anybody who's interested in storytelling and filmmaking, um, you know, I truly believe, it's not about what high end equipment you have, or uh, what school you went to, or how
I
many
know
people.
she went to Montfort.
Right, because
I'm joking. I'm
I,
joking. I'm joking.
and if for however folks want to take it, I'm a child of DPS. Take that how you will. But here's the thing: no matter where you start, it's really about what is your creative vision and what are the
Amen.
stories you genuinely want to tell, right? And you can do that with almost any creative tool in front of you, right? I have a lot of
That
folks
part.
all the
That
time
part.
talk about like, oh, I want to buy this, 3, 4, 5, 10,000, whatever, high end camera. I need this lens. I'm like, you don't need any of that. I mean, especially now, we live in a day and age where we have literally one of the most powerful tools right in our
Mhm.
pocket,
Yes.
phones. I mean, you really can create almost anything with that. But again, what you can't create or what you can't fake is really the passion you have for the story you're trying to tell. That has to be genuine, right?
Hmm.
So, even going back to the Game Boy camera, it was really about what I had right in front of me. If it was a Game Boy camera, if it was a Polaroid camera, right?
Hmm.
Uh,
Hmm.
webcam, if it was, a crayon or marker, whatever. What drove me always was I want to be able to create worlds that connect to me. I want to be able to share that with people who can find connectivity in that. And I
Mm, I
do
love
that with whatever tools are around,
that.
uh,
Hmm.
and I really, especially for us, especially when we talk about um, and being very more direct, like Black LGBT folks or Black folks in general, it
Hmm.
is so important for us to own our stories and tell the stories that we want to tell in our way.
Woo! That
That
part. That in
is,
our way part is the important part of that sentence.
it is super key. Yeah,
Because yes, people Hollywood will take a black story, but they
absolutely.
will twist and warp it. Ooh, in our
Yeah,
way.
and I think and I've said this. I feel like I say this almost on the daily. Um, you know, Now it's great. It's great that we have all of these platforms and tools to share ourselves with the world. But I think in a day and age where I think a lot of times we are being oversaturated with information that may not really be beneficial to our well-being or are planting like seeds of actual growth within our own community. I think now, not saying like you can't still find entertainment and have a good time on TikTok and Instagram or whatever social media platform you're on, but I think for our own, and I'm being just as genuine as I can be, I think for our own mental health, our own emotional health, our spiritual health, um, I think now it's about the intentionality of creating things that directly have connection with like the communities around us. And what I mean by that is I feel like there is so much going on in our world right now, so much going on in our country, and so much going
Mhm.
on just locally, where it can really feel overwhelming. It can feel that we have lost control over our own path. But I think art has always been a tool of finding yourself and building community. And I know, like, for a lot of us, we dream about these ideals of, especially as like, people who are into more mainstream forms of storytelling,
Mhm.
being part of the bigger industry, going to
Mm.
Hollywood, all of these type of things. And I think those things are great. I think those are incredibly important too. But I think also going back to how much of our experiences have been exploited by these same industries,
Mm.
how very much in filmmaking they influence us, they influence the people, they influence the culture. Um, I think there's also a need for us to learn how to further connect with the creative community we have locally, and trying to make impacts there, because I think in a lot of ways those sectors allow us to kind of have ownership of our truest identity, because it's so easy to get caught up with what the big studios are doing, or what the next person is doing on social media who has a million followers. But we have an incredible local film community here.
Mhm.
Joe, I know you recently attended the city of Detroit,
Film
uh,
Detroit. Yep.
yeah, network connection, which you could talk about a little bit if you want to as well.
Oh, okay. I can definitely. So the city of Detroit just came out with a whole new office that is designed around helping production teams actually get the different procurements that they need. So the licenses for buildings or the ability to shut off streets, and all of the just general paperwork that needs to be done in order to film a scene in a big populous city the right way. They formed an office to help accommodate all of those requests and needs. And so I went to that event and I was able to talk to a humongous scene. I didn't even know how many people were here in the city of Detroit actually in the work of producing film and telling these stories. So that was an eye opener to me because I literally just got out of college this year, went back to college after a 10-year break, got my degree, and got introduced to the local world of film. And it was astounding. There's so many people doing so many things, telling so many stories right here in the city of Detroit. And I was just kind of shocked and amazed to actually see that advice that Chris you were speaking of, which is pretty much the same advice that Issa Rae gave a while ago, to where she said something about it's not about reaching up for help. It's more about reaching across, reaching and working with people who are in the same place as you, and you guys creating something beautiful, and that eventually uplifts the community. So yeah, it that
Absolutely.
was an amazing thing to see. And I am excited for when I actually get my film up and off the ground, because right now it's written, but that stage between it being written and then having funding to film it. That's where I'm at right now. So I'm working on that stage, which it's funny. Speaking of stages of the filming process, hmm, I wanted to ask you about this film. And ladies and gentlemen, please forgive me because I have to ask this man questions about a film that I ain't seen yet.
Well, if you
Um,
want to see it, the premiere date is November 21st. We'll get into that a little bit later.
there we go. I was hoping you had it ready. I was no,
It's
put it
ready.
back
It's
up on
on
the screen.
standby.
Put it back up on the screen. I was hoping you had it ready.
But yeah,
So when's
we'll get
that
into it.
date that we can see this film?
Yes. So we'll go a little bit more in depth, but this film is part of the Detroit Narrative Agency Film Fellowship, and we're having the official premiere. My film, including my other fellows projects as well too, on November 21st, Friday at 7 p.m. at the Senate Theater. I'll go a little bit more into it a little bit later, but yes, it's a free event. We have a link where you can RSVP. Please come out, experience these incredible films by Detroit storytellers, and yeah, and get you a little taste of heaven. But I'll bring that back up a little bit later with the link so we can kind of dive in a little bit deeper.
Yes, yes. So now you know my plight, audience. Now let me ask him about this movie that I have not seen. So my first question to you, sir, would be: can you describe the emotional journey you envision the audience having while watching your film? Like, can you give us the overview of what your film is about?
Mhm. Yes. So at the core, this film is really about honoring Club Heaven, its legacy, it supports the community. It's also this connection of how these spaces where we dance, we celebrate, are also spaces of spiritual work too. So this spiritual component that kind of plays into the whole heaven concept, which also plays into the place where Club Heaven used to exist is now this 20 going on 30-year plot of land by the Winans that's not open. That's supposed to be this so-called sanctuary worship, but that's a whole
Do,
different conversation.
I'm about to say, do we want to
We can
piss
go into
off?
that maybe a little bit
Do we want
later.
to piss off the? No, I don't think we.
So, but the other element of this film too, and this is where it has even a deeper personal story for me. Um, this story is also about dealing with grief, dealing with loss, finding healing, and finding chosen family in that. So, for folks to get even a greater context, this is a short film. The film is roughly around 14 minutes, but it follows a character named Marcus. Um, Marcus is this young 22-year-old Detroiter who's came back to the city after unexpectedly losing his mother. And
Hmm.
he's living with his best friend, who knows his best friend, um, and knows that his best friend is grieving, but is trying to mask that grieving through partying and other activities. Exactly, right? So Marcus is dealing with that grief by going to Club Heaven for this one night experience. He's never been there before. And
Ooh, a one night experience, one night only.
one night
Okay.
only. And through this, experience at Club Heaven, um, he's also confronting some things about the connection he had with his mother, dealing with the grief of the loss of his mother, but also what Club Heaven provides him in being able to grow and heal from this loss. And it's a very personal story for me because I shared a little bit earlier how being here, being from Detroit, identifying as a black gay man. Before I was a black gay man, I was a black gay boy trying to find my path, trying to find community, and
Mhm.
how important it was for me to step into spaces, um, like Club Heaven. For me, my Club Heaven was the Woolworth. Uh,
Okay. which is also now no longer with us.
I mean, it's been completely flat.
Yeah.
College. Um, but it was the first space where I was able to witness um, other Black LGBT folks like connect and find themselves and find community and find love and also deal with loss and also get on the dance floor and dance, right? And
Mm-hmm.
it was life changing for me, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, through that process, that helped me kind of find community in multiple other spaces, like where we are right now, LGBT Detroit. Um, and thankfully, I had that community because it connects
Mm-hmm.
back to the story. I lost my mother in 2022.
Oh, I'm
Through that,
sorry. I'm sorry.
yeah, no, but through that loss, like it made me realize how important it is to have community when you feel like you have nothing else. And it is one of the reasons why I felt that this story was so important because, I'm still dealing with that grief even now. But with that, I understand that I'm not the only one, right? Like I'll
Mm-hmm.
go to events that we have here locally that are at bars and at clubs, and I have conversations with people. And these are some people that I'll see during the day, and yeah, they are like, oh, they don't know you, or they're just kind of moving around, trying to push through, trying to get through their 9 to 5. But
Mm-hmm.
they go out, and when they step on that dance floor, or they see that good Judy, or they Kiki, for
Mm-hmm.
a moment, they come alive again, and they find.
Yes.
And to me, that's powerful. That's spiritual. That's genuine connection. So in this film, and again, Joe, you'll probably get an exclusive sneak peek. But what's the
Okay.
real premiere is Friday, November 21st. It's next week, everybody, right around the corner.
Uh-huh.
But um, with this film and what I've seen through some of the limited, private screenings that we've done, is that the responses that I get from this is that people and audiences are kind of recognizing the importance of us having space where we can be ourselves, us having spaces where we can be truly vulnerable. I think even diving a little bit deeper, um, Black people, um,
Not
I,
even just black people. You can just say black men. Black men don't
Black
have a
oh, Black
lot,
men too.
gay or straight. Gay or straight.
But I think, and again, this is across the board. Music and dance
Mm-hmm.
is a spiritual experience. And I feel like for our community, it is so recognizable how powerful it is because when we talk about our ballroom community, like when we talk about voguing, that's a connection to our ancestors, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, there's so much spiritual connection to how we move our bodies, how that is a language of communication, um, and I think for the Black LGBT community, especially, I don't know if we recognize how powerful we really are in having spaces where we be our truest self, in having spaces where we can embrace our queerness through music, through dance, through loving on each other, right?
Mm-hmm.
There is something so prolific about that. And a lot of that stuff happens in these clubs, on these dance floors. The Club
Mm-hmm.
Epic was one of those spaces. The legacy of Ken Collier, I had a conversation earlier today with someone who was deeply connected to all of this. And Ken Collier made such an impact, a timeless impact on not just the Black LGBT community, not just Black people, Detroit as a whole, nationally, globally. The Detroit
Mm.
sound is deeply rooted in Ken Collier's spinning in Club Heaven. Our organization, LGBT Detroit, right? I think I spoke about this earlier. LGBT Detroit started off as Kick Magazine.
Yes. That
Issue
was
of,
another thing that I meant to actually context. But
yeah,
yes.
the first issue of Kick Magazine was a photograph of one of the members of the House of Charles doing the iconic kick dance in Club Heaven, which
Yep.
launched this 30-year organization. But go ahead.
Oh no, I was you were on a roll. I guess my next question to you was going to be since I have not seen this video yet, this film, I want you to paint a picture for me. I want to know, how did you approach the visual style? When I see Charles for the first time in the film, how does the lighting, the camera movement, the color palette, how does that all reflect either Detroit, the mood, or just the theme of heaven in the film?
So, um, for me, I wanted to honor the actual Club Heaven space, which there are, a few limited photos and videos that I actually shot at Club Heaven because, this was the late 80s, early 90s.
Mm-hmm.
They have smartphones. We even have smartphones. Nobody was trying to be caught on camera in a black gay after hour space. You know what I'm saying? There were a lot of, actual potential harm that could be caused by that. So
Yes.
it's a limited photo. So again, taking from people who were in that space, taking from the folks who actually shot the photos. One of our collaborators on this project is Chris Cushman. Chris Cushman actually jumped on our episode last week with some commentary on our topic. But Chris Cushman,
Shout out to Chris. Chris, I don't know if you're watching, but shout out to you. Thank you.
Chris Cushman was actually in Club Heaven. He was actually able to photograph the people in the space itself and really kind of create these timeless images of what Club Heaven really was. And we have been incredibly blessed on this film to get the approval and support of Chris Cushman to use his photos in the film as well too. Because again, this whole film is about honoring Club Heaven and the authenticity of that space. We want to make sure that we have the people who are involved. With that being said, Club Heaven, from those photos and videos, was a pretty much bare space. It was dark. One of the most iconic Club Heaven was the actual Club Heaven speakers, which we actually were able to use in a film that was actually provided by.
Hold up, wait a second. Hold up, don't just skip over that. You were able to actually source some of the speakers from the play.
We had the actual Club Heaven speakers.
You were just gonna skip over that? Okay.
No, let's skip over. I'm trying to make sure because we already got like 30 minutes. So I try not to like drag out things too long. But yes, going back to you talking about the visuals of it. Club Heaven was kind of like, a relatively bare, dark space. But we wanted to honor that, but we also wanted to kind of bring in this also kind of colorful, lush, saturated aspect of this, not removing kind of like the rawness of Club Heaven, but using these colors to kind of reflect like the lush, colorful energy of the people who are in that space. So it's a lot of saturated purples and blues, just to try to give this vivid style of, these colors were really kind of reflecting the energy of the people, the colorfulness of the people, the outfits, the hair. This is the early 90s, right?
My gosh.
Yeah, because so it was like the colors were kind of like projecting again the energy of the people who are sweating and dancing and kicking and spinning and voguing in Club Heaven.
So I have one nerdy question. This is going to be film nerd kind of centric. So because you told me that you have a lot of luscious purples and blues, I want to know, are the people who are in the film relatively, do you have a mixture of skin tones? Because I know certain darker skin tones really just pop under those luscious blues. If the person who is lighting the film knows how to light for darker skin tones, was the person who is lighting the film aware of the subjects and lighting for the subjects?
So our director of photography is cinematographer, Kashira Downridge, who I worked on another pilot for a series called Fingerprint Chronicles. Kai
Mhm.
is probably one of the dopest cinematographers that I've ever had the blessing of connecting with creatively. She is a black woman who is very intentional about showing our melanated selves in the best light. And that's really the core of our team. But yeah, Kai is all about that. And
Can we get Kai's Instagram? Like what's Kai?
yeah, I could definitely throw on Kai's Instagram. Yes.
What's her at on Instagram? Just in case if somebody's watching our program on the replay and they're just like, I need somebody. This is a black story. I need somebody to light these Negroes
Yeah,
and make them look good.
I'll definitely make sure to share. But yeah, like it was super intentional, and this goes all the way back to the framework of this fellowship. So, Detroit Narrative Agency is rooted in making sure that we are authentically telling Detroit stories for Detroiters, but also, making sure that it's stories coming from Black and Brown Detroiters and people of color and queer folks, because we make up a large portion of this community, but often we are not at the table. So, all that being said,
Oh, are you gonna speak on the new Detroit of it all?
yeah,
Nope.
once again,
Okay.
30 minutes. But with that being said, you know, when we started even pre-production, um, it was not even debatable that we needed to make sure that we had a team from our DP to pretty much our whole creative team, gaffer, grit, everything else. That these were folks who understood the importance of making sure that we're showing um, the texture and the skin tones of Black folks in a way that is honoring like our light and honoring ourselves on camera.
Hmm.
So Kai, even during our pre-production stage, she provided us with this incredible treatment that just broke down. And definitely I want this to be part of maybe a future discussion after our premiere of
Hmm.
just how in detail she went in terms of the colors and the tones and how it would look on Black skin, especially in a club space, right? Where it's
Hmm.
lighting and everything. Um, so that was very intentional. Not to toot the horn too much, but when I said earlier, this project was a for us, by us, through and through, behind the scenes, in front of the camera, right? And it's the only way that we can do it because, again, this is a story about such a prolific space as a part of our community. Like I said, Club Heaven was our sanctuary, right? So
Hmm.
it was no other way that I wanted to approach this as a director and a writer on this project to not reflect the fact that we have to be shown in the best light in this film. So yeah, our entire team was rooted in making sure that we were shown like the kings and queens, that we are. So yes.
Amen to that. Now, I do want to ask two questions in one. So, I want to ask you, how did you select your cast for Heaven in Detroit? What qualities were you looking for in the actors that brought your story to life? And the second part of that question is, with you casting those actors, can you tell us about a moment where something unexpected happened? Maybe like an can I say this word? Improv moment or a quick location quirk or change or something that influenced the scene.
Yeah. So when we were kind of like building out like our team and locking down locations, like I said again, we were working closely with Detroit Sound Conservancy that has already done a lot of incredible work in preserving the legacy of Club Heaven. They've done multiple events all over the city for that. So they really assisted us with locations, and probably one of the biggest ones is that we were able to film or recreate Club Heaven in the, I guess you would say, like relaunching of another prolific LGBT space here in Detroit called The Works. The
Ooh.
Works used to exist on Michigan Avenue in Corktown. It was another space that was very much like an after hours queer space.
Ooh, the
Um,
works. Okay.
and things happen, shut down,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
but Tim Price, who is probably one of the most, I would say, biggest supporters of this film, who's also a part of
Oh,
Detroit Song Conservancy.
I'm sorry. Thank you for whoever gave us the like.
Oh, awesome. Um, Tim, amongst the team, part of DSC, um, they have basically recreated, or not even recreated, launched the Works in Hamtramck. So the new Works location now is in Hamtramck. It's an incredible space, two-level space, huge, huge dance floor. And they provided us opportunity. While I'm saying this, I'm trying to also make sure I'm not saying anything too soon or too early.
Okay.
They allowed us to use their new space, new workspace, and Hamtramck,
Ooh.
create Club Heaven with the original Club Heaven speakers. Uh,
Okay.
that in itself was amazing. For folks who are not too aware either, Club Heaven, well, the building that Club Heaven was originally in was a two level building. Um, so on the first floor, it was like this biker club called Club Hell, and then on the second floor was actually Club Heaven. So when you
Ha!
go into
That's I see what they did there. Okay.
the space, you have to go up this long stairwell. So we were able to have a space that provided us that stairwell experience in the film that will lead to the second floor that where Club Heaven was actually at. All of this, and once again, I can't say this enough.
You got to go through hell to get to heaven.
Get to have
Okay.
one of the lines in the actual film, basically.
Oh,
But with that all being said, yeah, like this was such an incredible blessing that we were able to receive from Detroit Song Conservancy, and Tim Price and the entire team, because that allows us to have like the key space that we needed for this film, which was recreating this Club Heaven experience on camera. Um, and yeah, that was a big, big, big thing that we were able to kind of lock in early during pre-production in terms of locations. Um, you know, um, my producer on the film, also my co-writer on film, Miles Rubin. Uh, we had to have a space to recreate, this apartment that Marcus and Zane, his best friend, were living in, and
hmm
we were kind of bumping around like, "Oh, we can do this fine." Long story short, I was like, "Hey, y'all come to my apartment. Just don't tear it up."
Okay.
Mind
Okay.
you,
Shout out to okay. Who are we shouting out to? Are
what
we for
Miles.
Marcus
Miles Rubin
Miles?
is the producer and co-writer on this film. I'll also tag him within the comments and on our banner.
Shout
Um,
out to Miles,
yeah,
and
Miles.
also shout
Yeah,
out to Deborah who is watching us on Facebook. Hello, Deborah.
hey Deborah. But yeah, Miles, who has basically, not only as my producer on this film, but as like a brother in my life, a little brother in my life, has pretty much been the glue holding a majority of this project together, right? Because as you know, as filmmakers and storytellers, when you're doing like a large scale project or whatever you're doing, like
hmm
it's a lot. It's a
Yeah. Yeah.
lot.
We'll talk about it because people kind of just think that you get a bunch of money and then you just say, okay, everybody, go to this place, we film, boom. It's not like that. Talk about just give like an overview of kind of how that allotness comes together.
Yeah, I mean, so again, there's levels to all of this.
hmm
Even what we're doing, this is all out of the Detroit Narrative Agency Film Fellowship, where they provided us pretty much all the resources support that we needed in terms of base funding for the film, legal support. We were able to have a full set of classes in screenwriting, and anything that we needed for pre-production. All of that was kind of provided through the fellowship. And that's not a common thing. A lot of times, for a lot of, especially independent filmmakers, you're kind of going into a lot of this. just trying to find your way. A lot of times you don't have the support of an organization or a collective backing you. We had that. But another big side of this is that, especially if you're going about something where you're trying to make sure all the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed on a filmmaking level,
Mm-hmm.
um, there are a lot of legalities. Um,
Mm-hmm.
there are certain things that have to be approved from the most minor level to, even something that's like big or massive. And I think what a lot of people don't understand is that filmmaking is not cheap.
It's
Uh,
not.
it is not a one person effort. It
Oh.
requires not only a team, but a team that, and this is something that me as a director, I have to always be conscious of. Um, you have to have a team that's aligned because you're moving in tandem. Like, every piece from not just the director, not just the writer, not just the producer, but your grip, your gaffer, your production assistant. It is a collective effort, and it takes a cool head. It takes patience. It takes having an understanding of what is your vision, and it takes a level of grace. You're going to have some really extremely difficult days. Not everybody, but it's
Mhm.
common to have the most everything that you think won't happen. It will happen. That happens on multiple occasions, but you still got to keep the train going. You still got to keep moving forward because there are so many things relying and so many people who are a part of this that you don't want to fail, and you want to make sure that at the end of the day we all have something that we're proud of.
Can I
So
supplement what you just said by just letting everybody know every last single film that you have seen released, whether it be short film, animation, feature length film, is a business.
mhm,
You literally build a business to create a product, one singular product, which is the film. And then you take that, and the business will do what it does. Sometimes that's make money, sometimes that's get opportunities to make other films, but like you're building a team to come together to make a product, and that product, like that whole effort of building the team and making the product, is a business literally unto itself.
yeah,
That's why productions go to different states, and that's why they learn about tax codes and everything, but it is a business. So every time you do a film, you're starting a business.
absolutely. Yeah, it's a business. It's a huge investment. Um, and I mean, another big thing too is that it's hard work. Um, and I think it should be hard work because I think as storytellers, as filmmakers, um, we have the opportunity. Like for me, this is truly like a dream come true, right? Something
Mhm.
that I
Oh,
worked on.
you dream of labor? Oh,
Well,
I'm
here's
I'm joking. Don't I'm totally joking.
no. But I think that works too, right?
Okay.
Because I not saying everything has to be like this grueling effort. Some things do come easy. Some things flow, right?
Mhm.
But I think for me at least, like I said earlier on this, filmmaking is me finding the language for people to see the most rawest form about how I feel and my emotions, right? Um, and I am so invested in that. Like that's something that is so important to me. Like I don't treat that as just it's whatever. Like when I share myself in film, I'm digging deep, right?
Mhm.
Seeing a part of me that most people will never see, right? And
Mhm.
for me to
I
go into
still haven't seen it, y'all, and I've known this man
uh,
for what, 2, 3 years now.
shoot, you'll um, but with that being said, you know, I think for folks, I truly believe that when you are digging deep into whatever you're passionate about, um, it is a level of commitment. It's a labor of love. I think that's the best way. It's a labor of love, right? So, me even saying hard work, maybe that sounds a little bit too grueling, but I think the real focus should be around how can you care for something creatively that you are so passionate about, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
like, look at this as your baby, right? Right?
Okay. Yes.
Right. How can you make sure that this thing that you're bringing into the world, that you're birthing into the world, can be loved in the best way possible? That's my
That's a good way of putting that. Yeah.
So all that being said, yeah, it's work, right? But I
Uh-huh.
don't think there's anything wrong with that because I think for people who are really passionate about the art of filmmaking, the work is also part of the joy, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's having the opportunity to do something that you are deeply, incredibly, like embracing in every way, in every form. So yeah, but at the same time, yeah, it's work, and I tell folks, like a lot of folks I think who are pursuing filmmaking in whatever way, um, a lot of times they're just like, oh, they look at the glamorous side of it, and it is that,
Mm-hmm.
but it's also those 12, 14-hour days, sometimes more,
Woo!
back to
Yes.
back, back to back to back to back to back.
Yes.
Oh, make a little bit of something out of nothing. It's also that too.
Yes. Okay, so since we only have about like 2 minutes, I'm going to ask you another double question. This question would be: what conversations do you hope that Heaven in Detroit will spark with its audience, or even people who are not specifically its target audience, but just people who will see it? And is there anything that you want to kind of plug or make sure that you say on our way out?
Uh, yes. So again, the biggest inspiration around this film is really to one, continue to preserve the legacy of Club Heaven, but I
Mm-hmm.
think more importantly, for us to have a great understanding of the value of these spaces where we find community. And that could be at the club, that could be at, your local community organization, um, that could be, at the church, that could be wherever you need it to be, wherever you find your people, protect that. And I think now more than ever, when we're literally seeing so much of our communities and our spaces being stripped away, our rights being stripped away,
Mm-hmm.
I think there needs to be an emphasis of what tool sets or how can we better protect these spaces that are important to us, and then what tool sets do we need to do the work, to make sure these spaces are still here for future generations. And you know, I really do feel that even with this film, I want to be very intentional in where this film is shown and how it's shown. Right? I want to make sure people to see it wherever, but I want this film to continue to build these bridges in how we preserve these spaces that are important to us. Right? So,
Mm-hmm.
and again, like everyone may not be as invested in the nightlife, right? But maybe you're
Mm-hmm.
a person where, again, and I'm just being frank, some people in our community, one of our other spaces that the Black LGBT community has here is Palmer Park, right? Palmer Park is right down the street where Club Heavy used to be. Even with a
Mm-hmm.
space like that, right, which has changed so much, over the years, for a lot of people, that is their sanctuary, right? That is
Mm-hmm.
where they found community, and it's important to them. But if you don't know how to protect that, that can be taken away from you too, just like the Woodward and just like so many other spaces. So that's kind of like the greater takeaway. I really want this film to kind of one let people know like a lot of this work that's been done around community building, that's been centered around our music and our sound, around Detroit techno. People have been doing this for decades, for years. This is not brand new, right?
Mm-hmm.
Hasn't happened, I think, is we live in these moments and we don't think about tomorrow. We live in
Mm.
moments and we don't think about the people who helped build these spaces for us today, right? And
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of, I feel like, where the divide is. And, you know, even with Club Heaven, yeah, it was a sanctuary for like the Black queer community here, but also Club Heaven had folks like Madonna and folks who were straight and folks who are part of so many other different spaces and communities came to that space because, again, it wasn't about, you know, your sexual identity or your gender identity. It was about your connection to the music, your connection to the sound, your connection to the spiritual experience. And that's
Mm-hmm.
universal, right? Um, and I feel like once people understand that, once people kind of get out of the way of thinking like, well, you know, I'm not gay, I'm not trans, I'm not black. What's important about this is your happiness. And everybody deserves some happiness and joy in this life. Everybody deserves to find their own heaven and their own paradise. So that's the big takeaway.
I love that. I love that. Okay. Well, I want to thank you, Chris, for coming on to the live stream today. As if you don't come on every time we do a live stream. It's talking about Club Heaven, which you can go out and see this or next Friday, because this is a Friday that we're talking, but next Friday, November 21st, at the Senate Theater at 6424 Michigan Avenue in Detroit, Michigan. The doors are going to be open at 7, and the tickets are free, correct? Free 99?
Tickets are free 99.
Free 99. So you have no reason not to come through. Pull up on us, y'all. We want to see you, and you guys can see me seeing this film for the first time as well. So next time we do this interview, I can say, okay, in that
You
scene
lost
where
a photo on saying that. That's the fourth time you brought that up.
because it's so weird. Like I have to ask these questions. I want to say, okay, so about your character, when they, walk in the shot from this angle, what does that mean? And I can't really do that because I haven't. Like, how any other time you review a film or something like that, you're able to say,
No, you
when
one of those
Freddy
people.
Krueger.
And again, just talking about it. So I feel like you one of those people, like, they tell us like watch out for them because they're gonna have this on bootleg so that at the gas station. Well, for a minute, listen. This whole film just lined up on, Tubi all of a sudden. What happened?
I can't. I cannot. But yes, I know I'm excited to see the film, and I think there's going to be a lot of people out there that are going to love what the little bitty behind the scenes shots that I've seen. It looks good, so I can't wait to see what's going on, and I can't wait to see what this film does past the premiere, because I know you have a lot of plans to send it out into the world. So it's yeah, I'm excited for you.
So definitely everyone come out next Friday, November 21st, Senate Theater.
Now, next Friday, we're not, because of the premiere, we're not actually going to be going live, are we?
That almost sounds like off camera.
Oh, okay. 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 Well,
Yeah.
Stay tuned. Make sure to watch the Instagram, and we'll keep you guys updated. Until then, we love you for watching. Come back and see us. Bye.